All righty. Hey, everybody. We are actually live. There's Donny. He's the blurry one. Say hi, Donny.
Hey, I'm blurry.
This blank one over here is absolutely nobody. We had some issues with my audio, so that's me talking, and the other one is me looking at you. So just to tell you what's going on real quick, we're going to show the show in a moment. Then Donny and I will be back to talk a little bit about how we put all this together and take your questions and other fun things. So stick around after that. The show is about 5 minutes. Then there's a little short video about how this whole thing came about and what it's all like. And then we're gonna take your we'll talk a bit and then we'll take your questions. If you're on any of the social media platforms where you're watching this, you should be able to let's see. Well, nobody's chatting right now, but if you comment during the program or during the Q&A, we can hear your question. We can read your questions. We can show them. We can answer what you want. That's how you tell us what's happening. So we'll be watching all that. So stick around. We'll start in just a second. I'm gonna get rid of everybody and put on the show in a moment here. So please hold.
Home began with a simple question. How do two people find each other? In a world of billions, it's almost ridiculous that any of us find someone we think is perfect, who also thinks we're perfect for them. Home is about finding someone to love, but also how we find ourselves in loving someone. It begins with vastly different energies calling out to each other from across the void, each from their own homes. Two worlds they've built for themselves that reflect who they are and how they feel. Their hearts are distinctly different, hot and cool, free-flowing and linear, but possessing just a hint of the other. Where they meet is somewhere special, the magical place that two people only share with each other. They circle ever closer, and finally come together as one, freely displaying how they feel for the first time in a spirited celebratory dance. Their dance concludes with a merging of who they are into something more, while still keeping the heart of them both. At last, all the colors melt into each other, as their new world together becomes richer than before.
Hey, there we are.
Hey.
So thanks everybody for coming. If you have questions you'd like to ask, you can put them in the chat thing. Donny and I have some topics we're going to discuss. You may know about some of these, Donny, or you may not. So first of all, you guys can just, you can ask questions. You can just go comment and tell us how awesome you think we are if you want. Helena Klump already did. She just said we're awesome. So whatever you want to put in there, if you want to just ask about how it came together, etc. I'm gonna start with some. I've got some slides and stuff to talk about. We're gonna look at this little thing right here. So there's us, Donny. This is a little bit of the inspiration that I started with originally. There's quite a bit of it. Hang on here. There's a lot of things to adjust. So I like this image a lot because it was kind of like the idea at the end of it is that love kind of blasts right through everything else. Was sort of a fun inspirational piece. Donny and I spent a lot of time talking about what the story meant. One thing about how we worked on this is that I'm just reading somebody's comments. But the part of how we worked on this, a lot of it is us going back and forth. I couldn't really create this without Donny's music. So you'll see a lot of inspiration for visual things, but then we'll talk a little bit about how the two of us work together, because it really is sort of a back and forth between the way we worked on this. I'll show you a little something here. This is some more design inspiration. A lot of things in the writer, how I sort of looked at, when they come together, the characters were supposed to be, I wanted to make them so they could kind of be anyone. It doesn't necessarily, a boy-girl thing. It's more about sort of the energy that the characters, different people have when they come together. So I started with some very simple shapes. One is more square, one is rounder. And so there's a lot of geometric things I went through on the design of some of this to sort of represent how they are. And I did a lot of experimentation about when they come together and the way they move. You can see some of the black and white inspiration on the left. It's kind of what I was looking at some of that when I was, designing the little worlds they live in. So this is some of the inspiration for that. We have, here's some scribbles of kind of their two worlds together that I was working on. Some of these things. One of the things I'll tell you about designing stuff is you throw a lot of things out. So some of these things didn't, end up exactly like that, but you can see where the thinking started and where it went. I want to jump in with Donny a little bit here because the next image I think is really interesting. I think I lost the original drawing that we started with, Donny, but do you remember this?
Oh yeah, that was the apex point.
So this, believe it or not, this is how we. This is kind of how we started. But I don't think I had even really done much animation when we did this. And you had, I think we were just starting on the music. So I had kind of a really general idea. But for those of you that don't speak weird artistic nerd like Donny and I do, this is like the whole story right here. And it's kind of a it's kind of a visual design, but it's also very much the musical design, because one of the elements that was really important for this is that the two characters start off and they're not in sync with each other. And they're not in sync visually or the way their sounds are. One part that Donny, I think it was a lot of this was you came up with was, I want them to be sort of out of sync before they connect with each other. And so you also wrote their music to sort of, they speak phrases that don't line up with each other at the beginning, and then as you can see in the little drawing, that they start to sort of come together physically and musically. So would you like to talk a little about that, Donny?
Sure.
I gotta breathe once in a while.
Yeah. So this image that George is showing now is very much so succinct with the cohesive ideas that he and I had discussed. He wanted George wanted to display two separate souls interacting and finding each other as they work together, and kind of the trepidation and the shyness and the coyness and like misunderstanding of communication styles, taking those kind of things personally to create the back and forth, like one of them might have been hurt maybe in the past before coming to. And so we really worked to create a dynamic between the two that was representative of a couple falling in love. And we really liked the ranges of the trumpet and the violin, because like they speak and play and kind of perform in a range that is better, more dialogue oriented. Like it pops out a little bit easier. And it was convenient that when George mentioned he wanted to do this like love story, I was like, oh my god, I know just the right people, like Dorval Puccini on the trumpet and his wife Rochelle Puccini. And this is the trumpet. These are the two voices and the two musicians.
Aren't they adorable?
So they actually play together like frequently. They met in school. It's very like they have just amazing chemistry together, and and they're both so remarkable and did such a wonderful job. And so what we really tried to do was make sure that they had the voices. They were like the characters, and everything else that you're hearing is a representation of the mood and of the emotional connection. So this is why we brought in strings at the end, because we wanted them to realize they had come home and they had really fallen in love. And the period of dancing together, kind of like learning how to operate in each other's shoes, and then kind of just the delicacy of a fragile scenario coming to meet each other. So George, can I talk for a few more minutes about how we recorded? I want to acknowledge.
I want to say something too. I realized in getting ready for this, I totally forgot we almost recorded this on Valentine's Day. Do you remember?
Was it?
Yeah, we were going to, and there was like a scheduling mix-up, and I was like, oh, that would have been perfect. Like that would have been such a good story, but
that would have been
a good story.
That would have been. But yeah, we I really want to give a huge shout out to Zach Jarrett and my partner Kelly Askham. Zach Jarrett, if you're here, we couldn't have done this without you. Zach helped me perform a lot of the instruments and he and Kelly recorded the instruments. Zach kind of like purchased special microphones for this situation that he wanted to use so he could experiment with them, and we could facilitate that. And one of the other instruments that we thought was really important to this are the handbells. What we did was we went to a sacred space. It was actually a church that I was music directing at the time, and we took their handbell collection and set up a mic pattern and played the instruments bouncing off the windows and off of the rigid structures, which is not conventional. It may sound like it's digitally processed, but it's actually live. And so we wanted that because we wanted the sounds to sound like they were like ricocheting and bouncing around the room, and that was really important for trying to create the sense of infinity, which is the representation of the two characters coming together.
I was wanted to talk about that too, because I had a vision of the beginning is sort of like I mentioned this in the little film that it's meeting somebody out of billions of people that you would actually want to spend time with is such a silly idea until it happens to you. and I felt like but when you're looking for someone, it really does feel like you're a speck of dust floating around in the middle of nowhere, and like shouting out to random people, hey, I like comic books or whatever, and somebody way over there is like, hey, me too. Like it's really how it feels, and I wanted to capture sort of the feeling that when you're alone and you feel like there's nobody in the whole world who gets you. Like that was what I wanted with that big spacious like void-like place that you're in, where you're looking for somebody, and there's millions of people out there, and you're like, where is this person? And you never think you'll find them, and it feels so huge and vast, and you guys really, I think, captured it with the bells and some of the sound design with like the whale sounds that you put in there that I wanted to throw in. And there's a little Morse code at the beginning that spells out the word home. That's the beacon at the start of it. It's my little Easter egg for people.
This is how I feel when I met George. It's like, George, where have you been my whole life?
I mean, actually, when we met in that museum meeting, I was like, this guy is just weird and crazy enough. We can do some amazing stuff together. Like, this guy's amazing.
It's been a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun trying to get inside of each other's heads. That's been a really
our love story, Donny.
Not like you and your wife, but we have all sorts of giggles and lots of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really like this, like the dynamic between our collaborative styles is really wonderful, and it really just really awesome, because like a lot of the things we have to like work out a lot of ideas before we actually begin. Before George can do his thing, he needs stuff from me so he can sync stuff to it, and I need some things from him before I can get started, because I just need something to like grab onto. And so it's interesting, like knowing when to take your turn, and it's a blessing.
One thing I just lost it. The way that we remember how usually when we start this, Donny and I probably talk on the phone for, I don't know, 3-4 hours, not all at once, but I think the first time I talked to you, I was still in Australia starting this up, and we talked on the phone for 45 minutes about the idea, and it wasn't anything yet, but like some scribbles and some things in my head, and we really talked a lot about the emotion of every scene, and how we wanted to make people feel, and how we wanted the characters to feel. And I think that's really an important part of how we work together. Like we don't sit down and go, all right, here's every little action that's going to happen. We work out the emotional arcs of everything, and and how the whole story is supposed to flow, and how we, what we want to do to people that watch it first. And I think that's a really important part of what we do together. Do you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, taking time to really work out the conceptual ideas, the identity of it before we actually start working out details, and that kind of makes some makes some it makes us both be flexible, because I have to become comfortable changing what I've done or my vision to acclimate based off of things or new ideas or new kind of ideas, and so sometimes we make it towards the end and realize, oh, like maybe we need to like change it a little bit, because like this is a thing that we really wanted to, a message that we wanted to deliver that maybe hasn't yet been subconsciously received yet, and we need to figure out a way to work that in.
So tying into that, this is when we started. This is the movie that I gave Donny to write the music from, and it's literally a black screen with words on it.
Yeah,
you remember that? Like, this is
I
what
do.
we started with, and it's kind of a challenge as a musician, I would imagine, to like imagine there's stuff here. But I mean, I also had to time this out, without any sound to hear. So I had to like imagine the music that was going to go in there. So I'm, nobody sees me when I'm working, but I have this thing I've been dubbing the hand ballet, which is like me in front of a computer, like moving around what the things are going to do. And I sort of sit there and like I'll imagine the music and move around, and like, okay, this thing needs to go over here, and then it needs to float around for a little while, and then it needs to go this way. So I sat down and did that and timed it out to this video, and I'll show you, Donny. You've never seen this, but
I think next time we'll have green screen sock puppets, right, George?
perfect. I mean, I have one at home when I'm not, when I'm doing this anyway. This is what I actually was using before you wrote the music. So technically, this is what I put the words onto, and then I worked out all the timing, and then I just sent you the words. And part of it is I really wanted to write music that I wanted to have animation that responded to the music instead of the other way around. I think I think musicians have better timing, so I really wanted to take the music and create all the animation based on the music. So Donny didn't get to see any of this because I'm a terrible guy.
I had to get inside of his head. That was it was interesting. I love the challenge of it, by the way. So it wasn't a thing that I was grumpy about.
Look at this fabulous animation.
It just takes some time to figure out the style, So like the fact that we had mood chartings helped me recognize the kind of chords and the kinds of melodies and when it was a handoff. And so I was able to kind of use his timing that he had given me, but then the moods to create moods and chords based off of that, and then we adapted and tweaked, and I know that George eventually, like George, kind of caught up to me, in multiple stages. Like he would catch up to me, and then I would get ahead of him, and then he would catch up to me, and a lot of that was done so that we could apply the nuance of the new recorded content. It could have its own minutia, right?
Yeah. And a lot of the, this is a good piece because, for doing it that way, because really probably the first half of this is sort of a conversation between the two of them, and the notes I sent you with the timing are just like, this one, approaches and the other one's bashful, and then this one says hello and this one backs off, and then they come back, so a lot of it really was sort of a speaking mood to each other music, and then a lot of the rest of it, of course, was a little more free flowing to the end. You mentioned the strings earlier. One of the reasons that I wanted the strings is that the ending should feel really, I think my notes to you at the time were it should feel like somebody stirring really creamy chocolate is the way it's going to look. So I wanted music that felt like everything sort of flowed together in this nice flowy river of just harmony and loviness. Yes.
Yeah, I'd also like to give another compliment to Dorval Pacini and Rochelle Pacini. They when I provided them the sheet music for their parts, I actually like wrote out and notated the story that George and I had communicated onto the sheet music, so people could understand. Like, now you are playing coy. Now you are hurt. Now you're slightly anxious, or now you're slightly anticipating. Like, the musicians knew what we expected of them, and they did an amazing job playing with that. And we did a few different takes, but props to both of them. I want to say the consistency in the recording was like amazing. There was no chop and paste. It was like, okay, like, are we going to take clean take 1, clean take 2, or clean take 12? Like, they're all the same, like equally good. So
their performing was so it was so real. I guess. I mean, you could feel that they really got in touch with the emotions. I mean, that's why I was so happy you picked them, because they really, it felt like they could communicate, like they were talking to each other the whole time.
They're definitely the kind of couple that can finish each other's sentences. They can know what the other is thinking, without. So I've always admired their affinity, and been jealous. I'm divorced until I met George, and I'm still waiting to find this magical person. But
I'm taking Donny. You can't have me.
Darn it! I do have a tuba here that is pretty close. So, are we gonna watch it again, knowing all this new information, George?
We could maybe watch it again.
I think people should now that they're like kind of listening and understanding. Maybe like.
You talking about the tuba? This reminds me. I was talking to a friend of mine. Actually, I don't know if he's here, but David Spethman, who does all of my writing for PR and things like that. And he does amazing writing. But I was telling him about this piece, and I said, it's the emotions are somewhat autobiographical because I'm writing it. And I said there's two characters. There's the smooth, silky violin, and then there's the brassy flugelhorn. And he's like, oh yeah, I know who the flugelhorn is. He's like, you're definitely not the quiet, subtle violin of the piece. I wanted to ask you, Donny, where'd it go here? I have a question. So how did you put your own emotions into writing this?
I always, before we, so I generally, if I can, I try to shy away from using virtual instruments. I prefer the emotional nuance of like genuinely recorded live real musicians, and I have a room full of instruments that I play, and so like I have to consciously like meditate, and I will bring myself to a point of feeling nothing and being like kind of totally like inner quiet for maybe like 7 or 8 minutes before I record, which helps me emotionally attune myself to what we're doing. And so like when I was capturing the piano or like the electric bass or like some of the other instruments, I have to make sure to to quiet my own anxiety and my own sense of like itchiness, personal itchiness.
Yeah, scratch your soul a little bit.
Yeah. I like it. I want it to be quiet so I can attend to the feelings.
Excellent. One section that I really enjoyed was the dance section is kind of a celebration. I guess it's what I like about it is there like you said, there's uncertainty, there's coming together, and maybe they're not sure, and then the dance is really they decide, all right, we're gonna do this, and I like that it's very happy. I sort of imagine them like almost like little birds flying around, singing to each other, or all those sweeping things you see in like Beauty and the Beast or something. And so that was a really part of that is I wanted it to be musically about that moment, but also that section was a place for me to just have fun with the animation. So I really wanted to just bring out all the pops and splashes and explosions and other things. And so how did you approach that part, Donny, the dance section?
Well, we wanted to. I remember that it was still a dialogue at that place. Like you were talking about, like a couple like swing dancing, kind of taking each other's lead and working together. If we listen again to this video, attend, consciously listen. There is no harmony. They're not. They're not ever playing at the same time. They are taking turns. They're being respectful. They're like following each other's moves and responding accordingly. They don't break
Not
out
stepping
into
on each
harmony.
other's feet. Yeah.
Yeah. It's very like it's like your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. Now we're gonna do this one line together. Now it's your turn. Now it's my turn. Now we do another one together. So we're trying to synchronize the way that they come together, so that when the chocolatey sauce comes at the end, that's where the harmony comes, and that's where the richness and the warmth of finding the person who you can, like, as you were saying, George, like pull them into bed and just snuggle them all night and just be insatiably content about that.
Excellent. I was going to say one thing I want to talk about is the way you basically I sort of stop animating and timing things until you finish the music. So the way Donny and I work together is like we'll start with a really basic musical sketch, and I'm not going to play it for you because it's it sounds terrible compared to the real thing, because
It does.
It starts out as like little MIDI instruments and the violins like, and it's got the heart of what we had, but Donny will write that version, and we'll work on a couple versions of that just so we can get everything, get the timing of everything right. Then I let Donny kind of go off and write the music, write and record the good version. And usually what I want to do is, we do this, Donny and I sort of do a little back and forth dance on this ourselves, because I have to start with an idea that's got a little bit of timing, and then Donny will write the music, just a rough version of it, and I'll put it in with my visuals and push it around, and maybe I'll open up a section that I want a little more room. I think originally it was like 3 parts, and then I decided, okay, the first part, it has to be like half of it instead of 3 equal parts. So we had to expand it a little, and then so I'll adjust my timing, and maybe Donny wrote something really great in a section, and so I'll hold on in a certain part, and I'll adjust my timing to fit him, and then we kind of go back and forth until the music's pretty much where we think it's going to go. And then and for me, this is kind of the best part, is the big timing that you saw in that first movie is really what I had planned out from the beginning. And then once Donny can kind of get the music to fit that, then I want to stop for a minute and let him put in all the little sprinkles and all the details and nuance. And then there's a whole new area of animation that I can explore according to all of that. Like there's so much that I hadn't planned from the bells and a lot of the little dings and where string sections end in that whole first section. A lot of that is just straight from what you wrote, and that's part of the process I really like about this, is that I couldn't have thought of all those little timings in there that Donny can write with the music.
Those wouldn't have happened without Zach. I mean, he came in and we took turns recording in this space, and what we did is we took, for the bells, we took like we figure out the notes that would be great through this section, and then basically like position them in different places in sets. So there were 2 sets of 2, and then we had the mics stationary, and we would record the bells in different places and us playing them in different directions. So it always sounded like your center of reference is always here, but the performances are moving around the screen based off of and bouncing off things. So that part really turned out magical, and we were very pleased with it. And just the overtones and all of that, it really, like, to me, it reminded me of like the time span of infinity. Like, and I really like that. But
and that was awesome, because I mean that is what I asked for. I mean, it's a big thing to say. Just make it the entire universe. I just want to say, like, his sound design did so much for this. I mean, it really made it so much more amazing than even what it was already.
Yeah, and Kelly, I'm sure would have loved to do more, but he was busy juggling other things too. And it's, one thing I always appreciate about you, George, is you don't get judgy when we have a rough demo ready. Like a lot of times, as a composer, the people who we work with, they say, "Okay, give me this thing. I want to hear it," and then they expect it to be
It needs to be
finished. And
perfect. Yeah.
it's like no, like it goes through many stages of revisions. We're gonna like
Oh yeah.
swap this thing out, and we're gonna re-record this, and so the people that criticize it from that point, like they really miss out on like a lot of magic, and it's because they don't know any better. And I can try to like communicate with them, but luckily George inherently knows this process, and so I was like,
Here's my crappy
oh,
process right here.
yeah. So
So yeah, I spent half my time there, so I totally feel you, man.
yeah. It's a very like like okay, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn, like the whole way through. And and that's just for one. It seems like one tiny video, and it was like that
Yeah.
was like how many months worth of work?
Oh, those 5 months for me at least. Yeah. It seems like it's so short now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I spent probably 40 hours just the last week of that to make 4 minutes of stuff. um, so yeah, I wanted to show everybody a little more of my. You don't really see this up close, but did I actually tell you, Donnie, when we started this, what color the characters were going to be?
I don't think so.
Because I showed you like one still, didn't I? And it was the two of them on the wall, and that was I was like, that's all you're getting,
I
because
remember bug.
I
I
don't want you to
remember
write
bugging.
all the music.
I bugged George for so many details, and he was like, "No, you gotta wait." I was like, ah! Like you're gonna make me wait. Like I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm like I don't even know what I'm doing. Like all right, like balls in your court, George.
So this is the linear organized character. Those of you that know me may know which one of us this is in my relationship. Um, so you don't really see this up close, so I really want to just show you guys because it's kind of fun. Um, oh, and
Very
here's
cool.
another little. I'll just show you this. Hold on here. That's that's sort of when they come together, and this horrible sketch on the left side is my original drawing of this. I actually took all of the colors out and put them together. And I think I think I told you in the beginning that they were going to be two separate colors, and when they come together, it's all the colors. And I think that probably influenced the way you wrote the music for that whole big ending piece, because I really wanted, and we worked a little on this, that I think there was, that everything really needed to feel like it was all resolving and sort of just coming back together. This sketch on the side is I was doing, or the 3D one on the side is, I wanted it to feel like it's circles made out of squares and squares made out of circles. Like, and that's the whole idea, that the two of them don't just turn into a circle and a square; they turn into something else when they're together. And that was part of my thinking. And I really wanted the ending to feel like the beginning, but the beginning if everything worked out. Like the ending and the beginning. I like to do these sort of mirrored compositions, so I wanted the ending to feel really big, like they've sort of shared themselves with the world, was part of it. And so I remember in the talks we had with you, is like the ending should feel just as wide as the beginning was, but more lush. Like it's like there's as much space, but it's filled with like beautiful flowing things.
Yeah, as appassionate as we could make it. And when I do remember you saying that like at different times they kind of are like supposed to fit inside of each other, especially during the middle section and things like that. And so I was thinking like really like if it was a trumpet and a violin, we might they're both kind of like a little bit, they can be a little like punchy if they're so the flugelhorn really creates a softness for the violin to sit inside of. And it really creates a different kind of sound. So
There we go. ignore the completely black square here, but now you can see me and Donny. One thing I forgot that I wanted to talk to you about is I just had it and I've lost it again. I'm getting old, people. It was about, hold on, I got it in my notes. Talk about something awesome, Donny.
Yeah, so the apex or the apex of it, after the dance and the rise, George was I when I throw together the dance section, George had some kind of ideas in mind, and he uh, was he kind of wanted to sculpt the dance section is in a bit more. We did a couple of different revisions of that, and I really like the way that his choices and his requests, to build it, because it really mirrored that like graph where it comes up, and we I'd like to play it again so we can show people kind of
Yeah,
they can think of some of these things.
Let me see where it is. Hold on, please. I think that whatever I was going to talk about has completely fallen out of my brain. So we're gonna let's play that again, and then we're gonna come back because I want to.
So give us some details about this in Vivid, Sydney. So
long story. This is not a part of Vivid. I won't get into it, but it's its own thing in Chatswood, which is, where is it? Blink. So it is. 1 second. So it's part of this thing called Chatswood Nights, which is actually, I believe, projections are over tonight. I think is the last night there, because it's already the 11th. Oh yeah, it's already the 12th tomorrow. Right now, I think it's the morning though. So there's probably people can watch it one more time if you're in Chatswood, which is just right outside of Sydney. And so they'll have the light sculpture and other things there until July 10th, but this is only up from the 21st until tomorrow. And I'll talk a little bit more about that after we see it again, because I'm going to play it and then we'll come back. How's that? That's
sure.
Not exciting? Let me get rid of you, Donny, and we'll be back. I'm gonna put the video back up and then we'll be back. Hang on. Hello, we're back again. You there, Donny?
Yep.
Oh, hey, there you are. It doesn't look like we have any. Is this a birthday present or tribute to your wife? My sister asked. It sort of is, I guess. Me. Most people buy their wife flowers. I put a big love story 400 feet long on a building in Australia. We actually couldn't go see this because of all the COVID restrictions over there, but I had an evil plan to actually go there and have her see it. But we'll watch. She actually hasn't seen this. We're probably gonna watch it tomorrow. Any other questions? Anyone? You have anything more you'd like to throw in, Donnie? I'm gonna show some other
No.
things after that. Let me show you guys where to go. Hold on here. Oh, so a couple things I should point out. So this, aside from these awesome people at the Willoughby City Council who put on Chats with Knights, I want to thank them for all their helping us with this. We've also got, so this was actually part of a master class. So these awesome guys at the Limelight Academy are fantastic. They are the best projection mapping people in the world. They have a master class that takes people who want to get to another level in their projection mapping and design. And so this was a part of that. There's 5 other people that have their stories projected on the same building at the same time. They're all in the Limelight Academy. You can go to that fantastic website. So they do stuff like this. If you recognize that building, Donnie.
Oh yeah.
So Donnie and I did another piece in 2019 called Moonbeams that was projected on this same building in Romania. These guys were there like 6 years ago, and this piece of theirs got like ridiculously great reviews. So it was. They really are some of the best people at this in the whole world. So I was really happy to be able to be a part of this, and they're very generous with their time and their knowledge. Not a lot of people do that in some industries. They don't want to share their little secrets. So you can see if any of you are interested in learning how to do this even better. So they have a masterclass. This was volume 4. I think 2 of them were in Australia. Another one was in a couple of different light festivals in Norway, I think. So they do this as a thing. So go check them out. I wanted to show you guys too. So you're probably wondering what cool things I'm doing next, because there's always more. So what's next? Well, right now I just found this out. I've actually got this is a piece that I designed. There's a great place called 150 Media Stream in Chicago that has this 150-foot long video sculpture. You can see it right there. This is actually a piece we did for them and the Art Institute on the Bisa Butler show. That's her right there. She's a textile artist. So these are really cool painted textiles that she does. So this is running right now through September 6th, and you can go see it if you go to their website. It only runs at certain times. I think right now it's only on Sunday in the afternoon or something. So you could go check this out right now. It's as you can see, it's this is a little person, so you get a sense of how big this is. It's, I think, 22 feet tall and 150 feet long. So we made a whole animated thing. If you go to their website, you'll see it's one of the top things. You can scroll down and check it out. And then Donnie and I are working on a piece that you can't go see yet because we're not done with it. But we're working on a piece called Spectrum for that same space. It'll probably be either at the end of this year or early next year. And so Donnie and his team at where are they? They're these guys. Look at that, at Mind Exchange Music LLC on Instagram and other places. They're working on a piece with me that's it's basically what did I tell you about this one? It's all of your entire life told through 8 different colored sections. So it starts with being born, and it also goes. It's kind of your life through different times of the day and times of the year at the same time. So it starts out with red, goes orange, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, black, white, and then it sort of amazingly enough comes back around again. So this is another big piece we're working on, and the cool part about this is we're actually going to it's going to show in that space, and then let me show the space again. Hold on. So it's going to show here, and then we're also going to, Donny and his team are going to perform the score live in that space as well. So we have like I don't know, what is it, a 8 or 12 piece orchestra that's playing. With,
I think it's like 7 musicians or something like that. Yeah, it's a live film score. And then
so they'll play it to the piece. They'll probably play it twice that night, and then you can see it later. But it'll be one time only, and that'll be it. This sounds really bad, but I just remembered the thing I was wanting to talk about earlier. But we'll leave that out for now. So we've got that going on, and I mentioned Bisa Butler, this cool lady. She's got a show with the Art Institute right now. They're also showing on something I'll talk about in a second here. So right now there's a cool exhibit in Chicago, which is the Frida Kahlo Timeless exhibit. And actually, I realized there's a much shorter URL for this. If you just go to frida2021.org, it takes you to the same place. It's less stuff to remember. But this is showing just down the road from me here in Glen Ellen. This is 26 original works of her art. It's the biggest showing of her work in the Chicago area in 40 years. It's on loan from the Almeida Museum in Mexico. So it's a huge showing of her work. It's actually, of all places, it's showing at the Cleve Carney Museum of Art, which is part of the College of DuPage. So it's a community college art gallery that got this access to this amazing show of her work. And what does this have to do with me, you're wondering? Well, I've got right here on the Merchandise Mart, which is a 2.5 acre projection screen downtown. This is the largest permanent digital projection in the world. So I've got a story based on her paintings done for that exhibit, designed by me. There's no Donny involved, sadly. But there is a great composer, Arturo Marquez, who is a great Mexican symphonic composer, has this really awesome piece. So look ahead to that, because we're going to maybe have a little event downtown now that people can actually sit next to each other. And the actual screening is outside. So it's humongous. It's awesome. That's what we're doing next. And then, of course, that's July 5th. You can go to artonthemart.com and see that. And then right now, of course, you can go see this at 150 Media Stream until September 6th. And I think that's just about it. You got anything else you want to say about all this, Donny?
No, I mean that's about it. Always so many wonderful projects, and thank you everybody for coming out. I'm gonna check out now. It's been a pleasure, everybody.
Thank you. It's been about an hour, and we'll be back for other great things later on.
Perfect.
Thanks, people.
Bye.